The 2023-24 NBA season felt different for Boston Celtics right from the start. The energy, the roster, the hunger, everything screamed, "We're coming for it." Fans were hyped, rivals were nervous, and oh boy, what followed was one wild ride. So how did they actually do it? Let's get right into it, because the story of this team's championship run is just too good not to relive in full detail. With the 2024 Boston Celtics were on an absolute mission. This wasn't just another NBA season for them, this was personal. They had been so close so many times, only to fall short, and you could feel it from opening night that this year was going to be different. They were out to prove something, and by the time it was all said and done, they had the whole basketball world standing and clapping. Banner 18 was flying, and everyone had to admit these guys were the real deal. It all started in the summer of 2023, right after that Game 7 heartbreak against the Miami Heat. And look, that loss hurt. Boston had clawed back from being down 0-3 in the series, only to lose on their own home court. That left a bitter taste, and it was clear the team needed a shakeup. Enter Brad Stevens, the guy quietly playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. He made one of the boldest moves Boston had seen in years, trading Marcus Smart. Yeah, the longest tenured Celtic, the heart and soul, the guy who dove on the floor for everything, gone. Fans were shocked, some were furious, but the trade brought in Kristaps Porzingis, and that move turned out to be a game changer. Porzingis added a whole new dimension to Boston's offense. At 7 feet 3 inches with the ability to shoot from deep, he stretched the floor like crazy. Defenses couldn't just load up on Tatum and Brown anymore. And let's not forget, he was coming off one of his best seasons ever with Washington, putting up 23 points per game and looking like the unicorn he was always supposed to be. But Brad Stevens wasn't done, not even close. Then came the Drew Holiday move right before training camp, and that was the moment Celtics fans started buzzing. Drew was a proven winner, a champion with Milwaukee, and arguably the best perimeter defender in the league. And the fact that he landed in Boston just days after being traded by the Bucks in the Dame Lillard deal. Oh, you better believe Celtics Twitter went crazy. The lineup now looked straight up unfair. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, with Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard off the bench. That's depth, that's experience, and that's firepower. When the season tipped off, Boston wasted zero time showing the league what was up. Opening night against the Knicks, Tatum dropped 34 points, Brown played elite defense, and Porzingis had a monster debut with 30 points, including clutch shots late that silenced Madison Square Garden. Talk about setting the tone, and that was just the beginning. Throughout the season, Boston looked like a juggernaut. They were blowing teams out left and right. Their offense was flowing, everybody was touching the ball, and the threes were falling like rain. There were nights when they hit 20+ threes like it was nothing, and defensively, forget about it. Holiday and White were locking down guards, Tatum and Brown were switching everything, and Porzingis was swatting shots into the stands. Opponents just looked exhausted trying to score on them. One of the most fun things about this regular season was how many times Boston just embarrassed other contenders. Remember that game against the Bucks in March? Boston was up by almost 40 points at one point. Tatum and Brown were grinning, the bench was dancing, and fans were chanting, "We want Boston memes back at Milwaukee." It was savage. Boston finished the regular season 64-18, the best record in the entire NBA, and by far the best net rating. And get this, they were winning by double digits almost every night. You didn't even have to watch the whole game sometimes. By the third quarter, it was already over. That's how dominant they were. Playoffs? That's where things got really fun. Round 1 brought the Miami Heat back to town, and Celtics fans were licking their chops. This was revenge time. Miami didn't have Jimmy Butler because of injury, and you could tell Boston wasn't taking any chances. They blew Miami out in Game 1, with Tatum dropping a cool 23 and Jaylen Brown dunking on literally everyone. The series ended in 5 games, with Boston putting the final nail in the coffin in Miami. Oh, that felt good for Celtics Nation. Round 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers was a little spicier. Donovan Mitchell had some big games, including a 33-point explosion in Game 2 that tied the series 1-1, but Boston never panicked. In Game 3, Tatum and Brown combined for 61 points, and Derek White hit big-time threes down the stretch. By Game 5, Boston closed them out in front of a raucous TD Garden crowd, and the message was clear, this team wasn't messing around. Then came the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers, and and wow, did the Pacers run into a buzzsaw. Boston swept them 4-0, but those games were actually pretty competitive. Tyrese Halliburton did everything he could, but Boston's defense was just too much. Jaylen Brown played like a man on a mission, throwing down monster dunks, locking up defensively, and hitting clutch buckets every single night. He ended up winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and Celtics fans were loving every second of it. NBA Finals time, Boston versus Dallas. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving against the Jays. This was a dream matchup, and boy, the Celtics came out swinging. Game 1 in Boston was electric. Porzingis came off the bench after missing weeks with a calf injury and was unstoppable. He hit threes, blocked shots, and completely flipped the game in Boston's favor. Luka had 30, but Boston's depth wore Dallas down. The Celtics won Game 1 convincingly. Game 2 was more of the same. Boston's defense locked in on Kyrie, holding him to just 16 points, and you could see the frustration on his face. Tatum didn't even have to score 40. That's how balanced Boston's attack was. Derek White hit huge shots, Holiday was everywhere defensively, and Brown kept attacking the rim. The Celtics went up 2-0 heading to Dallas. Game 3 was a thriller in Dallas, but Boston stayed calm. Holiday had a monster game with 26 points and 11 rebounds, and that gave Boston a commanding 3-0 lead. The Mavs did manage to win Game 4. Luka and Kyrie went crazy, combining for over 60 points, but everyone knew what was coming next. Game 5 wasn't just another game, it was the night Boston could finally finish the job. TD Garden was electric, the crowd was deafening before tip-off, and you could just feel this was going to be special. From the opening minutes, Boston played like a team that wanted no part of a Game 6. Jason Tatum came out hot, dropping 11 points in the first quarter and setting the tone. By halftime, Boston led 67-46, and the Garden was rocking. Dallas tried to fight back in the third. Luka Doncic went on a personal 10-0 run, cutting the lead to 13, but Jaylen Brown answered right back with a nasty and one dunk that brought everyone to their feet. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, Boston was still in control, and every possession felt like a countdown to history. The final minutes? Pure goosebumps. With under a minute left and Boston up 105-88, Tatum drove the lane, kicked it out to Derek White, and bang, he nailed the three that sealed it. The place went absolutely insane. Fans were already standing, screaming, filming the moment. When the buzzer finally sounded, Celtics 106, Mavericks 88, it was official. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Boston didn't just beat Dallas, they crushed them to finish the series 4-1 and remind the league who runs this city. Jaylen Brown was named Finals MVP, and honestly, that was the cherry on top. After years of hearing people say Tatum was the real star, Brown proved he could be that guy on the biggest stage. Tatum was phenomenal too, he had a triple-double in the closeout game, but Brown's two-way dominance sealed it. Watching the confetti fall, seeing Al Horford finally get his first ring after 17 seasons, man, it was emotional. You could see it in Tatum's face too. This wasn't just a championship, this was a statement. The Jays proved they could win together. Brad Stevens' bold moves paid off. And Joe Mazzulla, he shut the critics up. His rotations were sharp, his trust in his players never wavered, and he guided this team like a steady hand on the wheel. This team didn't just win, they dominated. They lost only 3 games the entire postseason. Their net rating was off the charts. Their defense was one of the best in finals history. Boston reminded the NBA why they're the most storied franchise in basketball. This wasn't just about hanging a banner, it was about rewriting the narrative for this generation. Tatum and Brown proved they can lead, Mazzulla proved he can coach at the highest level, and the entire team showed what happens when talent and trust come together. And that's all about how the Boston Celtics turned the 2023-24 season into a masterpiece and brought Banner 18 back to TD Garden. If you enjoyed reliving 2024's epic season, drop a comment with your favorite moment from Boston's championship run, hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the NBA world.